In a speed puzzling competition, how much time should you take to sort out pieces? Should you sort them at all? And if so, how much? All of them? Just a little? Let's find out today. Sorting out the pieces in the beginning of a jigsaw puzzle really isn't my favorite part of the deal. Do you feel the same, or is it just me? Definitely in a team competition you wouldn't put me in that position because I would not be the most suited for that. But anyway, how much time would you need to spend on sorting? Can you just save that time and just spend more time puzzling? Let's say we're doing a 500-piece puzzle and we're aiming for about an hour, and I spend already 10 minutes sorting all the pieces. Couldn't I just save that time? I only have 15 minutes left to put the pieces together. But if I sort them out carefully in different piles, it might make me faster puzzling them, and I might make up those 10 minutes over and over. Yeah, we definitely need to find a sweet spot here, and I'm afraid it depends.
To sort or not to sort, that is the question. Or is it? Sorting is not an all or nothing approach. If you sort it all, you don't have to sort it all. You could also just sort out the edge, or the little red car in the middle, or the stripe pattern on the left side. Let's explore the different strategies, shall we? So we're starting from no sorting at all, but then there is a lot of things in between, which have funny names like flip and go, flip and edge and semi-sort, and finally the full sort. I'll explain each of these sorting strategies later on in detail, but just as a quick spoiler, there is no right answer for which of them is the best. This really depends on the jigsaw puzzle in front of you, how big it is, so meaning how many pieces it has, but also most importantly, it depends on the image, what type of image it is, what it shows, what patterns it has, what colors it has, how equally distributed all the different structures are, and all of these kind of things. The first strategy is called dump and go, which is really just a no sorting at all. It's also sometimes called sort as I build. And really all it does is you dump all the pieces from the box onto the table and then starts puzzling immediately. Keeping the pieces in the box and stirring them around as you need is not a thing in speed puzzling, although it is very satisfying, I have to say. The good thing about dump and go is it doesn't really take any time because you don't do any sorting, so you save all the time of flipping them around or sorting them by anything. So it's really fast because it's a non-existing sorting strategy. It really only makes sense for very small puzzles and very easy puzzles, like a 100-piece puzzle, for example, because you're so fast on a 100-piece puzzle, like the overall time is only like 5-10 minutes, maybe 15 at a max, that any time you spend on sorting is just too much and it can't be verified and can't be caught up later on. So dump and go, which means no sorting, very small puzzles. The next strategy is called flip and go. It is quite similar to the dump and go, so you dump all the pieces onto the table, but then you flip all pieces facing up, and then you start puzzling. So you can see all the pieces straight away. It is much easier later on once you start puzzling. So this would take you, like for a 500-piece puzzle, maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. Like I heard rumor about 2, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. On a 1,000-piece puzzle, that might take you up to 10 minutes probably. This is good for like really easy puzzles, or puzzles where the image is very obvious, like this world map here. So like we've seen world maps in our life so many times that as soon as you see a piece, you definitely know where it goes. The third strategy is called flip and edge, and you can probably already guess where this is going. You dump out all the pieces onto the table, and while you're flipping all pieces to face up, you separate the edge to the side. Then you start puzzling, maybe on the edge, maybe not. That depends on how much space you've got on your table. Like if you have a large puzzle on a small table, you might want to puzzle something else first, so to clear the pile of pieces and then put the edge around it later on. But usually you would start on the edge if you have the space. For a 500-piece puzzle, this strategy probably takes you 5 to 7 minutes, and for a 1,000-piece puzzle, maybe more like 10 or 15. In my opinion, this is suitable for puzzles with very busy images or very undistinguishable patterns, like very equally patterns, like hidden objects or Where's Waldo type things. Let's have a look at some examples. So we have here this fantastic TV shows. So this is just all over the place, cluttered with images, and you can't really sort by anything. Maybe the sky, but it doesn't really make sense because every little piece you have to go back to the box and kind of find where it is. Similarly, we have those post pieces here, like all the stamps, all those little things. The tricky part is that some of the images actually come in twice or three times. So it's also like you can't sort by nothing. So you just sort out the edge and go from there. I've got this beautiful Australian Indigenous artwork here from Biggie Nagala. Also, that one is really hard to sort out because all of it is very repetitive. The pattern is quite overwhelming. Overwhelming is what I would call this category. Next one, we've got this vintage cookbooks from Ravensburger. Same thing, it's really hard to sort because it's really cluttered and a lot going on. The etch and semi-sort strategy is the obvious next step. So you dump out all the pieces onto the table, and while you flip all the pieces facing up, you separate the edge, but you also separate out the main structure or the main color or anything that kind of stands out, and then you start puzzling either on the main structure or on the edge, depending on how much space you got on the table. This will take you about 7 to 10 minutes for a 500-piece puzzle, and maybe up to 15 minutes for a 1,000-piece puzzle. And I have to say that I find this one quite hard because you're sorting by color of the main structure or pattern or whatever it is, but at the same time you're also sorting out by shape, which is the edge. So you're sorting shape and color at the same time. And I find that mentally quite challenging sometimes, which is why my sorting out of the edge is sometimes a bit subpar. But anyway, so this is suitable mostly for puzzles where there's one main structure, one main thing in the middle, but a lot of generic items around it, which most of the time is illustrations. I've got a few examples here, which is Ravensburger's Kitten in the Cup. So it's really easy to sort out the fur because the fur really stands out. So you would sort out the edge and the fur of the kitten and then everything else around it, maybe the blue cup on the bottom as well. The next example is the Ravensburger Summer of '69, where it's really easy to sort out the pink of the shoes and also the writing. Or here on the hot-air balloon. The hot-air balloon is really busy, but the balloon itself is very obvious, and also the sky, so you could sort that out. So the last strategy we're talking about is obviously the full sort. You're dumping out all the pieces onto the table, flip them all facing up, and while you're flipping them up, you're not only sorting out the edge, but you're sorting out every single piece in your pile into specific smaller piles, and then you start puzzling. This will take you maybe 7 to 10 minutes for a 500-piece puzzle and about up to 20 minutes, I'd say, for a 1,000-piece puzzle. It really depends on how many piles you make. If you only have 3 piles, it's faster than if you have 5 or 6 piles. This is the most suitable for puzzles that have images with very clearly defined color pictures or like different textures and like where the areas are very clearly defined and distinguishable from each other, which is mostly landscapes and buildings and photographs. I've got a few examples here. So the first one is a very famous castle in Germany, Neuschwanstein. You've got the sky, you've got the forest, and you've got the castle itself. You might separate out the orange part of the building, so you end up with 3, maybe 4 piles here and the edge. The next one here in France, Mont Saint-Michel, is very similar structures. You've got the sky, you've got the grass, and you've got the town in the middle. So you end up with 3 piles again. Then Ravensburger's Lighthouse Rocks, same thing again. You've got the sky, you've got the rocks, you've got the ocean, the tiniest pile for the lighthouse. And last example here is Lisbon from Ravensburger. Same thing, you've got the sky and the ocean, you've got the city. You might sort out the blue house and yellow. But overall, you can see those images are very similar. They're all photographs, they're all buildings. I've got one last example. I know I said that one was the last, but the last is more special. So that one is an illustration. So it doesn't really matter if it is an illustration or photograph. It is more about how the structure of the image is. So here you could really easily sort out the whole lavender field and the building and then the sky, and then have the tree and the green as the last pile. So overall, this was all sorting by color, but then there is also examples that we have that are different that also go into the full sort. For example, stuff where there is a collage of different images on the same. For example, the Four Seasons here from Ravensburger. It is very clearly defined that there are 4 different areas, and it is easy to sort them into those 4 areas. Similarly here with the Stitch in Time, you have the 4 different colored fields here, very easy to sort by those 4. And if you have a 1,000-piece puzzle sorted into 4 different piles, you only have 4 times 250-piece puzzle, which will be much more easy to sort out and to figure out and to speed puzzle and get a good time with that. So the very last example, I know I said last example before, but this one is, I promise it's the last example, is the Ravensburger Crypt. This is a solid color puzzle, and there are many of them out there. It has a really strange die cut, so that is the specialty about it. We can't sort by color for this one, but still it would be a full sort. So you would sort everything by the piece shape. So you sort out the edge and then you sort out by all the little shapes, because otherwise you have no chance on a solid color puzzle. So keep in mind, a full sort is not just about color, it's also about the shape. And if you're getting into a solid colored area, like we had with the sky and earlier ones, if you only have pieces left there are same color, you would always start sorting by shape in the end. All right, now that we know the different strategies for sorting out puzzle pieces in speed puzzling, let's have a look at some final considerations. In competitions, you would usually always see a 500-piece puzzle. There are some with 1,000-piece puzzles, but you would definitely know in advance what size puzzle there would be in this competition. And because of that, dump and go and flip and go are strategies that are rarely the best choice for competitions, because they are suited for very small puzzles and they don't usually come up in competition. So you're really just deciding between flip and edge and semi-sort, and a full sorting strategy. And as a rule of thumb, I would say the flip and edge is suitable mostly for puzzles that have images that are very busy or have very little details to distinguish anything between them. Then the edge and semi-sort is for puzzles that have one main feature in the middle or on the side, who cares, that is very easy to distinguish and a more cluttered and undistinguishable background. And then you've got the full sort. The full sort is most suited for puzzles that have very clearly defined areas, such as landscapes and buildings. I want to give special mention to the following example, which is Floral Reflections from Ravensburger. This one was actually used in competition before, and it is quite an interesting image. It has those 6 clearly defined colors. Well, the blue and the purple are kind of mushed up together, but the other colors are very clearly defined, which is why it leans itself towards a full sort. So you would sort out in the beginning all the different colors in the different piles and then sort, maybe sort the edge, maybe not. The edge is a bit funny here. I mean, there's nothing special about the edge, it's just a normal puzzle. But in saying that, the pieces from the edge, I have the feeling they belong more to the color that they go with than sorting out the edge separately I don't see the sense of this. It kind of is more distracting to sort out by shape while you're sorting out by color. So in that case, I would actually ignore the edge and only sort by the colors. I also tried to do a flip and go with this one. So just flip them over, don't sort out the edge, don't sort out nothing. And once you're done with flipping, you grab yourself all the red pieces, puzzle those, then you grab all the orange one, puzzle those, all the yellow ones, puzzle those, and so on. And funnily enough, I've done this puzzle quite a few times with different strategies, and I always end up kind of plus minus 5 minutes within the same time. So it is quite an interesting example, because some of these examples I showed you are very obviously going towards one category or another, but there is a lot of images there in between where there's not a right or wrong answer, where some people are more leaning towards a flip and edge and others more towards a full sword. But a full sword, you need a bit more endurance to actually sort the whole puzzle, especially if it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. So you might just want to sort out one thing, puzzle that, and then sort again. So you kind of split up the task a little bit. So it also depends on your own style, but it also depends on the image. And this is probably the lesson to be learned here, that you decide in the beginning what's right for you, what's right for the image, and then make the most of it.
Yeah, so these were my thoughts on the different sorting strategies for speed puzzling. I hope you learned something today, and if you liked the content, please consider a like and subscribe. That's it for today. Until next time, bye!